Well, and we celebrate what I call martyrdom in healthcare, whether we're
Yes.
willing to admit it or not. Some people get offended by that, but I give the example of how many times did you hear from your leaders, your peers, you've worked 6 shifts in a row. Oh my gosh, you're amazing.
Yeah.
Or you worked 16 hours instead of 12. Oh my gosh, you're amazing. Or you picked up and so when people come in exhausted, it's like they've earned a badge of honor amongst their
Yeah.
peers. And while we intend it to be good, the side effect of that, which was shown in the pandemic, is nurses were literally killing themselves at work.
Yeah.
And it's noble. Our profession is noble, but the reality is, just like the oxygen mask metaphor on an airplane, you cannot pour from an empty cup. You have got to take care of yourself. And we don't know how to do that without feeling shame around it.
Hmm.
And so some of the work I do really is to dive into that culture, that mindset, and help people acknowledge no more. We cannot continue this way.
Greetings, greetings, and welcome to When the Moment Chooses You. I am your host, Coach Charlene, and I am delighted today to have the one and only Dr. Megan Carter in the house. Welcome to the show, Dr. Megan.
Oh my gosh, the one and only Coach Charlene. Thanks for having me.
No, I'm so excited. I've been totally like watching your stuff for probably about 7 months or so, but I just really love what you're doing. And so I wanted to reach out and really bring you on the show because I want to know more about who you are because of the dynamic work that you're doing. So before we have you introduce yourself to the audience, I'll just set a little bit of context about the podcast in case there's new listeners. And so I started When the Moment Chooses You. Really, it was birthed out of 2020 with all of I call it a triple pandemic that we were actually experiencing. And so I found my voice in the midst of the pandemic. And then that's where I began to start sharing my story. And it brought so much transformation, education, and stuff. It was like my voice was allowed to go viral in a sense that I had this little whisper in me, but I never shared it. But then when my whisper became a roar and I start sharing it, then it started really impacting those that it was called to. And so that's really what this is about. It's about interviewing trailblazers and change agents that dare to dream, that dare to disrupt their system or themselves. And I did something different. So that's kind of who I'm attracted to and who I tend to pull on because it's so beautiful to hear other people's stories. Megan, why don't we start out, first of all, with just telling us who you are?
Yeah, I love your story. And I'm so grateful you shared it again because it reminds me how beautifully unique each and every human being is and what we bring to the table and the stories that we carry together. So I'm so excited to have this conversation with you. I'm
Awesome.
grateful for the invitation. So I jokingly introduced myself to my audiences as a recovering hospital executive. And when I say that, I mean, I spent the first 20 years of my healthcare career as a nurse and a leader going down the traditional chief nursing officer path. So I did all the things: manager, director, associate chief nursing officer, went back to school for my master's, my doctorate. I did the board certifications, I traveled, I did all the things. And I realized in August of 2023 that I had not really been chasing my calling when you talk about whispers, and we can get into that here in a bit. But I decided to take 6 months off to help myself heal post pandemic and post other events in my life. Started my own company in January of 24, MC Healthcare Consulting. And I've started a movement called the Chaos Whisper Movement, which means I help busy healthcare leaders get back protected time in their week so they can focus on the people, because that's what matters most. We have a very broken healthcare system. We're the most expensive on the planet. We have terrible outcomes, and we can't heal it unless we support the healers themselves. So that's the work that I do through workshops, speaking, and coaching.
Wow, that is amazing. You are my sister indeed.
Yeah.
So, okay, you just dropped like several bombs. I want to go back just a little bit. So, you went up the traditional track. So, I want to speak to that moment of you going up the track. Were there any moments as you were going up and elevating that you kind of was like, this is just not me? I mean, or did it just hit all in 2023?
There were definitely hints that I
Okay.
intentionally ignored. And part of what I do in my work, and the reason I do it, is because I fell into the same mind trap that a lot of folks do, which is this is just how it's supposed to be. Going into being a nurse manager was truly traumatizing for me. It's not that way for everyone, but the particular organization I was in, the dynamics going on, I was 29 years old. It was really traumatic. And I remember within my first 6 months thinking, did I make a mistake? This is so stressful. It's 24/7. My phone will not stop going off. I don't have time to focus on my toddler at home or my husband. And so I thought I'm either going to move up or I'm going to go back to the bedside because I can't keep doing this. So that was my first hint. And then when I moved into the director role, that was my favorite role. I had an incredible team, but there was bullying and toxicity amongst the leadership team themselves. So again, more hints that this is not in alignment with my higher calling, my higher purpose. Again, I ignored it, decided, oh, I just have to push through. It's maybe me. I'm not enough. Maybe I'm just too weak. Maybe I just need to get more education, practice better skills. And then when I got to the executive roles in ACNO, we were in the midst of the pandemic. So at that point, all we cared about was just keeping people alive and keeping our staff safe. So that was a 2 full years of none of us wanted to be doing that. None of us felt aligned, but we felt called to help save lives. So for me, when that ended and there was some time to actually pause, reflect, and take inventory of my experience, I felt this nudging for several months of this is not where your higher calling is leading you. And it was scary. It was scary. So I ignored it for several months before I decided to take that sabbatical.
Yeah, that's so good. And I wanted to unpack that because, unfortunately, I know a lot of people that are in that space right now because it's so comfortable to keep on going, to keep pushing through, to keep pushing through.
Yeah,
But you don't really know the damage that you're doing to your soul as you keep
absolutely.
pushing through. And so I like how you said you kept feeling little nudges because that's literally what happened to me. I knew something was off. I began to be restless, irritated, frustrated, all of that stuff, still being my positive self, smiling and, going around being a leader and stuff like that. But that soul on the inside of me, just like, I just can't stand this,
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I like that you said that because it's not easy
No,
to listen to
right.
that whisper at all. It really isn't. So I really appreciate you unpacking that for us. So, okay, so tell us a little bit more about once you got the aha or the
Hmm.
courage to say,
Hmm.
okay, that's it. How did that unpack?
Yeah. So for me, it was there was an event that occurred with some dynamics involved with people. And for the sake of their privacy, I won't go into detail, but something specific happened at work that felt like, for me, I'm a person of faith, so I believe in God. And so for me, it felt like I interpreted it as God trying to give me a swift kick in the rear to push me out the door. It was his way of saying, you're not getting the hints from the past several years, so I'm going to do something big to make it obvious for you. He gave me an out, he gave me an option. And I remember going home one night and thinking, literally, I was driving home actually after work, and I thought, am I ready to put my notice in and walk away from this? And just, I felt like throwing up. I felt like crying. It was so crippling, just terrifying. And I remember feeling this, like you described, a whisper. For me, it was like something on my heart saying, there's something better on the other side of this. Please just trust me. Just do
Mm,
it. Like
that's
you're
good.
always going to have the option to go back to work. Just try it. And I thought, I have no idea what that means. I have no idea where this is heading. What I do know is this is no longer the path for me. It's blatantly clear. It's not aligning with my values. I am not the best version of myself. I was on blood pressure medication, anxiety medication. I'd gained weight. I was miserable. My husband and son deserve a better version of me. I deserve a better version of me.
Yeah.
So I made that difficult decision to put in my notice, and it all happened so quickly that when I finally got home and I was done with my leave and all the things, it really hit me like a ton of bricks. And I realized, man, God, that was God really trying to force me
Yes.
to go down a different path, and I had to trust that it was for a good reason.
Yeah, that reminds me of this. There's a quote that I heard someone say before. They said, the journey to obedience is terrifying, but you have to go anyway.
Correct.
And so that's really powerful. And that's really my story. I'm just so blown away by how significant and how similar the stories are because I was like comfortable, hey, I'm making some money. I'm just coming to work and doing my thing. But man, when you really see that there's something really going on within you that is not aligning, There is no, I felt like even like my well being was at stake. It was almost like an urgency. Like, if you don't do something, something is going to happen to you. And
My
I felt
physician
that.
actually said to me, I love that you said that. She said, you're digging yourself an early grave. My cortisol levels were so high at my last appointment with her before I left that particular career. She said, you're digging yourself an early grave. Is it really worth it? And I just
Wow.
remember thinking, our bodies try to tell us
Yeah.
when our soul is not in alignment with our outer life. Our
Yeah,
bodies are
absolutely.
very clear. And as women, I think we're really good at being really resilient, sort of the suck it up cupcake, like, let's just keep pushing through. We're kind of almost subconsciously trained to think that way. And so
Yeah.
if we ignore it long enough, our body will eventually, to your point, scream at us and tell us
Yeah.
that we need to make a different choice.
Wow, that is so powerful. So, you know what? I know that there's someone listening around. You're
Yeah.
in that space,
Yeah.
Megan. And so I'm wondering if you could speak right to that individual that's feeling a little bit stuck. They are having some manifestations in their body and their soul, and they
Yeah.
just don't have the courage to do something about it. What would you tell that person?
Well, one, you're not alone. Two, you are not weak or broken. You are a human being having a very human experience. And you're not the only person. There are so many people around you that have experienced it, whether they choose to share it or not. And I would say honor yourself enough to pause and just listen. And that may look different for everybody. For me, listening means getting somewhere still and quiet. If I can be in nature, it's even better. And just really take the time to honor whatever it is you're feeling. If someone's really in distress, I'm a big supporter of, whether it's counseling, EFT tapping, whatever practice that aligns with you, get somebody you can trust who will hold privacy for you and let you talk through it and process it. It
It's
is
awesome.
so difficult to not to be scared to make, especially a career change or relationship change. It's natural to feel that fear, and you're not a coward for feeling that fear. That's natural, but you're feeling that feeling for a reason. And so I would just challenge you to trust it just enough to explore it just a little bit further, take that first step.
That's beautiful. Thank you so much for doing
Yeah.
that. He's a spiritual midwife, but he told me about 10 years ago, and it just resonated. When I took the plunge, he said, Charlene, you keep hanging around the pool, and God is calling you to the ocean, and he wants the ocean to pour
Oh,
back into the pool. And
yeah.
I was like, oh my God, I have been, because, where it's very comfortable.
Right.
Nursing is very comfortable,
Yeah.
but when you really start getting to know who you are personally, you know
Right.
that there's more that's calling you. And so I really appreciate your journey. So let's get more into like what you're doing now. Tell me a little bit about the wellness, the chaos whisperer. Is
Yeah.
it the chaos? How do you
Whisperer.
pronounce? Okay, the chaos whisperer. Tell me a little bit about that. First of all, how did you come up with that name?
So this is gonna probably, you're a great audience for this, but this freaks some people out because it's not logical. I don't remember. What I do remember is when I updated my LinkedIn profile in late, well, probably mid 24. So about a year ago, I remember when I was updating my headline, I'm working on creating content and marketing my business. I don't know where this inspiration came from. It wasn't from a person or place, but I just put Chaos Whisper in there because I thought that's literally what I do. And the number of messages I receive from new connections saying, I'm following you because it says Chaos Whisper. And everybody in healthcare identifies with that: physician, nurse, EVS, I
Yes,
don't care who it is, because that's literally our business is
right?
chaos. We thrive on it and we know how to work through it. And so I thought, it's funny that the Simplify to Impact workshops that I do for the leaders, it's designed to help them triage their calendar because they're triple booked. It's
Right.
designed to streamline those meetings so they can actually drive action. It's helping them create clear priorities, their top 10, and professionally saying no to tasks and projects that don't align with those priorities. Because I suffered as a leader so much, being completely overwhelmed. And we're all stuck in survival mode, Charlene. Like, all of these
Yeah,
leaders are stuck in survival mode. And so we know we want to be transformational. We know we want to innovate. We know our precious staff need to see us, but we can't get out of these meetings or this office. So I thought, if my job can be simply to help them get unstuck, and that's where the Chaos Whisper movement and job title came from, is let's figure out how to thrive in this chaos, decide what's important to them, and give them tools and permission and cultural change to go from surviving to thriving.
that's really powerful. I particularly love the part that you talked about saying no.
Yeah.
That's not the easiest thing to do, especially as a leader. I remember as A&M, I'm
Or the
like,
nurse.
yeah, exactly. And trying to, do everything for everybody to make sure you're doing a good job and stuff like that. But man, until I didn't get really freedom in my heart until I start saying no.
And
Charlene
it
stopped taking ownership of all the things.
That's right.
No.
That's right. Well, and we celebrate what I call martyrdom in healthcare, whether
Yes.
we're willing to admit it or not. Some people get offended by that, but I give the example of how many times did you hear from your leaders, your peers, "Well, you've worked 6 shifts in a row. Oh my gosh, you're amazing."
Yeah.
Or you worked 16 hours instead of 12. Oh my gosh, you're amazing. Or you picked up and so when people come in exhausted, it's like they've earned a badge of honor amongst their
Yeah.
peers. And while we intend it to be good, the side effect of that, which was shown in the pandemic, is nurses were literally killing themselves at work.
Yeah.
And it's noble. Our profession is noble, but the reality is, just like the oxygen mask metaphor on an airplane, you cannot pour from an empty cup. You have got to take care of yourself. And we don't know how to do that without feeling shame around it.
Hmm.
And so some of the work I do really is to dive into that culture, that mindset, and help people acknowledge no more. We cannot continue this way. We have leadership turnover, nurse manager turnover. We have a nursing workforce shortage. This healthcare system is broken enough. We cannot afford to lose a single other leader. So what do they need? And how can I help support them in that?
Well, that's wonderful. So, man, I wish I would have knew you when I was a nurse leader.
Oh, well, now we know each other now.
I know, which is
Yeah.
cool, but I think that's so valuable because I think I agree with you as far as the manager, the being one of the roughest
Yeah.
roles ever, because
Yes.
that 20, and I think that's what got me the 24/7
Yes.
phone on was just too much because, like, I literally, because Megan, I went through 11 directors
Ooh.
in 11 years. I'll just say it that way.
Yeah.
So to have to, I mean, always, even on vacation, respond. Like there was an expectation. Oh, I don't know how to do time cards. I need you to approve time cards. I'm like, I'm in like Hawaii. Like, what's up with you?
Yeah.
But it was like this expectation. So when I start seeing that, because that shifted, and I start seeing that, I was like, you know what? Not going to allow you guys to kill me. I just am not going to do that. But we need to hear, I mean, leaders need to know just what you're doing. You can say no
Yes. Well,
graciously.
and to your point, Charlene, I love that you brought this up. Bringing people together in a group in these workshops is why it's so powerful, because you see the CNO, the directors, and the managers all having the same conversation. And often these expectations of being available 24/7 are assumed and not actually articulated clearly. So you have an example where a leader clearly said, "I expect this of you." There's a lot of organizations where new nurse leaders, new healthcare leaders, this isn't limited to nursing, but they assume that that's what's expected, and they want to be seen as a high performer, so they go above and
Yeah,
beyond. Their staff
exactly.
respond to that and think, "Oh, this is how she leads." So then staff feel comfortable. It's a vicious cycle. And so part of the conversation is, let's take a time out. Let's talk about what's realistic for people. Yes, healthcare is a 24/7 business, but there are 300 of us in this leadership team, or
Yes.
30 of us. How can we divide and conquer together so we all get the access to protected time off, to heal, to be at home with our families? We're human beings, not robots. And
Yeah.
so we have to disrupt that old way of thinking.
I love that. I absolutely love what you're doing. So, okay. So tell me about some barriers. Did you experience any barriers, as you were navigating through to where you are now?
Oh, so many. Do you mean to pivoting from that traditional to being an
Yes.
entrepreneur? Oh,
Yes.
yeah. I had no idea what I was doing.
Yes.
I can resuscitate an adult in an elevator with an EpiPen and some silk tape, no problem. I do not know how to run a business. So my first barrier, I realized, was a lot of education. How do I form an LLC? How does marketing work? What am I selling? Who am I? What are my services? So my whole first year was me it felt like spinning my wheels, but it was a massive growth time for me. So I learned how to reach out to people. I really enjoy working with other women leaders, or founders who work with female founders, simply because we have our own unique way of marketing and approaching and how we sell our services. So I surrounded myself with experts, super humble, learned everything I could. I still learn something new every day. But that first year was really bumpy. And I tell new entrepreneurs or people who are considering it, think about like 2 years worth of finance that you would need to have set aside, not to live a luxury lifestyle. I'm not saying your executive salary, but have about 2 years of what you would need bare minimum to function, to give yourself some breathing room. Someone gave me that advice, thankfully, ahead of time. So I thought about it, but I do see some people try to pivot, and that barrier is really financial because they can't afford to be without work for that long. So just thinking through that ahead of time and addressing those barriers was really helpful.
That's good. What about as far as internal, like intrapersonal, any intrapersonal blocks? Were there any
Oh, yeah.
like, imposter syndrome type
Oh, yeah.
things going on?
Yep.
Tell us a little bit about that because there are some people on here that are in that process of trying to
Oh, yeah.
move to be entrepreneurs.
Yeah, I had a big loss. I had to grieve. Honestly, it was a grief process to grieve my former identity. I had a lot of pride in
Mm,
my job title and my 20 years of grinding and, getting my doctorate and doing all these things. And I recognized I had been chasing my ego and my pride more than my purpose. I really had to get honest with myself.
that's good.
Um, and that was humbling for me. So then it left me feeling a little empty. Like, who am I then? And so my interpersonal or intrapersonal barrier was finding myself in that process. Who am I? What are my values? How do I want to show up in the world for other people? I remember the first conference I attended after I had turned away from that traditional path. I was literally treated like a stranger by some people I had worked with for years because I wasn't in their world anymore. Or I
Yeah.
had gone to be an industry. They wouldn't acknowledge me, wouldn't make eye contact with me. I mean, I was completely and utterly treated like an outsider. And I remember how deeply that hurt. At the same time, I have found a whole other circle of other entrepreneurs, trailblazers. There's so much community and
Yeah.
people like you and some of these other nurse entrepreneurs. So now I have a whole new community of peers, and it's so much healthier because there isn't competition. We aren't
Yes.
all competing for a
Right.
leadership title. We aren't dealing with office politics. They generously, selflessly give and share contract templates and advice and opportunities with our whole entire group. So there was a period there where I thought, oh my gosh, this is the loneliest road I've ever been on. But if you hold on and you intentionally look for your people,
Yeah.
you'll form a whole new circle and community.
That's wonderful. Thank you so much for that. That's awesome. I think
Absolutely.
one of the big things that I really heard from you is just early on when you talked about going up the regular track. Everybody's not meant to go up the regular track,
Right.
right? But that's kind of like what's kind of that's the type of, if I had any mentoring, it would have been somebody saying, hey, your next step is director. And I was so like, no, what I saw as directors after 11 people, no,
Yeah,
thank you. I'm good.
for sure. I don't blame you one bit. Terrible job
Yeah,
security, apparently.
yeah, absolutely. And just so I like how you said you had to establish your own identity because I really think even beforehand, I had to establish the identity. I had to know here that director is not for me.
Yeah.
You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying? It was this self
absolutely.
discovery that, you know what, there's something else calling me, like with caring science and heart math and all the healing arts and stuff like that.
Yeah.
That was calling me louder than
Yeah,
me wanting to go up the pathway. And so I think it's very important for you to like start doing some of that work even while you're a nurse.
absolutely.
Yes, you're a nurse, but you're probably more than a nurse. There's
You're a whole
something
human
else.
being.
Yeah,
Yep.
exactly. Yeah. So, okay, tell us about your business, and in case someone out here needs your advice, tell us
Yeah. Yeah. So I
what
have
you
my own
do.
website, mchealthcareconsultingllc.com, and I'm very active on LinkedIn. So you can find me, Dr. Megan Carter. I travel the country and I provide workshops. I do keynote speaking. I do some consulting as well on the side through a different group. And then I'm also going to be launching some coaching services early next year. So I'll be doing one on one coaching with people who want to maybe consider the chaos whisperer path or just need some help getting unstuck and out of survival mode at work. So I serve all healthcare leaders, not just nursing. And my clients can include, hospitals, ambulatory clinics, professional organizations. So you can always find me on my website, LinkedIn. You can email me. I'm always open. I love networking and meeting people.
Okay, awesome. I'll make sure I put that down in the description. And
Yeah.
so here's a question for you. I'm just wondering, what are your thoughts on the healthcare system for
Mm.
the future? I
Oof.
mean, really, for the future, what would you hope happens?
Well, I know what I hope and I know what I'm seeing. And so I will
Yes.
tell you, I'm very active in the legislative process. So at the federal level, I attend Advocacy Day every year with our national group, and this year's been very different. And I won't get political. I'm not picking sides, but I just will say the dynamics have shifted enough with the new legislation that's come out. And the feedback I get from my clients is it's become very difficult to do the right thing by the patient and not fear legal repercussions from that. Supply chain has become so incredibly disrupted and expensive. We have rural hospitals closing their doors entirely. They can't afford to stay open. So I know what I hope is seeing a little, what I'd like to see is the new technology and AI coming in. I would like to see it specifically take administrative burden and non-clinical tasks
Yeah.
off of nurses and physicians' plates so they can really spend more meaningful face to face time with their patients as people, like rehumanize healthcare. Right now, they're drowning, they're spread so thin, just like the leaders are. I would
Yeah.
like to see that. And there are companies out there who are doing that. Unfortunately, it's just not broad enough. So I think this baby boomer population up until, their sort of end of life, we're going to see this big hard drain on our healthcare system at the national level. I think once we're past the baby boomer population being the primary group needing healthcare services, I think it's going to feel very, very different between technology and just less demand, less acuity. I think it's a hopeful future.
Well, that's good. I'm really glad to
Yeah.
hear that. And then I always ask my guests if they can give us three wisdom gems for someone out there. And I don't structure it at all. Just
Yeah.
what would Dr. Megan's top three wisdom gems be for someone out there listening?
I think the first one that comes to mind is know your worth. Know your worth as a person, not just a job title, not just your pay. Know your worth as a person and be very clear about who you are. And that takes work. We think we know who we are, but sometimes we get tested on that. I would just say get really clear on who you are, what your values are, and figure out what your internal compass is telling you. The second one I would probably share is at the end of the day, I teach this class called Sacred Vocation. It helps people get meaning back in their work in healthcare. And one of the activities we do, which sounds a little morbid, is I have them write their obituary.
Yeah.
And the purpose of that is not to be morbid, but to help them realize, what do you want to be remembered for when you're gone?
Yes.
And is your current life or your current energies and focus areas aligning with that? Because I'm not going to write on my tombstone, she works 60, 70 hours a week. I don't care about that. It may say
Exactly.
I'm a nurse, it may not. It's the people in my life that I want to leave a legacy for, how I treat other people and how they
Yes.
feel after interacting with me. That's the legacy. So that's number two, is what legacy do you want to leave, and live your life accordingly. And the third, I think, is have fun. I mean, we are all
Yes.
so serious. My gosh, there's so much negativity in the world. I mean, every right to feel angry and down and overwhelmed. I mean, turn that phone off, y'all, and go have fun in real
That's
life with
right.
people, whatever that means.
I
Life
love
is too
that.
short.
I love that. I love all of those. Well, it has been such a pleasure to
Yeah.
have you on finally. And I can't wait to air this one because you are so amazing. And I so appreciate the work that you're doing. Keep on trolling and blazing the way for us newer
Yeah.
entrepreneurs coming up and at them. So I really appreciate the work that you're doing. I love your newsletter. I love the topics because
Thank
she
you.
gets like that to the down and dirty, y'all.
Yeah.
For real. I love that because we need to uncover this darkness and
Yeah.
just hit it right on. So thank you for being who you are, Miss Chaos Whisperer.
Oh, thank you, Charlene, for having me. Thank you for the work you're doing. And your audience is so blessed to get to hear all these stories. So thank you for bringing us together. It's beautiful.
Hey, thank you so much for listening. Hey, I want to invite you to join my Substack community. I actually have a free newsletter that I send you every month when you join. There's also another level to it. If you're a paid subscriber, you actually get a copy of my book, When the Moment Chooses You, and signed by me, as well as the access to a Q&A segment that we do and other live shows that I'll be doing. I'm also going to be doing a special Awaken Align class for those who want to really pursue their destiny and seize those moments that are in their life. So join that community. I'm trying to move things over there so I can have more contact with people. So I'll see you over there. I'll put the link down to join. And basically, it's only like $10 a month and $8 a month if you do the yearly subscription. So I look forward to seeing you over in that community. Thank you. And I love and appreciate all of you. Bye bye.